Hello and welcome back to Speed Demon Painting. Exciting but a bit confusing news today as the new blog post dropped from Warcradle Studios. The title of the blog post is the December releases, the Sultanate arrive in style. Now that would mean there are no releases in November, or somebody still has a bit of an issue with the clock turning backwards and hasn't slept that well and accidentally put in December where it should have said November. I'm hoping it's the latter. There is going to be a dual release, one for Armoured Clash, which sees a new faction dropping, the Sultanate, and also a release for Dystopian Wars as well for the Crown. Let's take a look at the Sultanate for Armoured Clash first, and yeah, the big faction starter set is coming for them as well. Looks like you're getting quite a lot in there, quite a bit of a good mix between vehicles and infantry for this faction, and very happy to see that there are also 4 portal models included, and of course the buildings that we've come to expect for these boxes. Let's take a look at the behemoth first, of which there seem to be 2 variants. The first one being the ferric command skiff, and well, as the name suggests, this one comes with a command dome here at the top, and that one usually is better at buffing your troops. Comes with 2 of these cool etheric lances, with these guys on the sort of seats and gun turrets, which looks really nice. And they also have a couple of infantry models that you can put onto the resin ship as well, which looks really, really cool. I say ship because this one actually reminds me more of an aerial vessel than the traditional tank, which is really cool to see. You can also take the Mushir escort ship. I'm not sure if this still is a command option or if it's one of the armored options, or perhaps even an aerial. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see when the Orbat drops. Comes with pretty similar loadout, but trades in that command dome for some extra gun batteries at the top. I have to say this model looks absolutely amazing, and it's very much in line with what the design is for Dystopian Wars. Looks very similar to the gun batteries they have, so yeah, big thumbs up for me with this one. And when it comes to the normal quote-unquote infantry types, there's not a unit I see in here that I don't like either, because these look amazing, the Janissaries, which are sort of your line troopers, sort of meant to be, well, I'm not sure if they will be cheap, but they will have to go and grab the objectives at least. And these Persian Immortals are described as coming through portals and appearing on the battlefield out of nowhere, so that's really cool. Well, one can imagine that this faction is going to use them quite a lot as well. And then you have these, the Spica Orionis, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this, but they seem to come equipped with sniper rifles, so yeah, that looks like your more long-ranged unit option, with this cool guy chucking a grenade as well. Really like the look of all of these infantry units. The Sultanate also seems to come with 2 cavalry units, the first one being the Macedonian Companions. This looks like more traditional shock cavalry. They come equipped with these sort of halberds and axes, and very cool to see that they're using the same type of iron horses that we see in the Crown as well. It's really nice to see a design being used across multiple factions, if they're sort of ubiquitous. And these Sipahi model wheels, they are definitely very unique to the Sultanate. Very cool looking guys. Look to be, or they seem to be on the rectangular basis, so yeah, these are a fair bit longer than most other cavalry units. They also have these bespoke officer flags, which I always like to see because, well, just plonking a little flag in a base is a cool thing to denote your officer, but I always like to see a bit more on the actual models themselves too. In terms of armoured units, there seem to be like 4 different types of chassis, with 2 variants each. The first one being sort of a local variant of the Ironhide called the Mergen, and they can be built either as a transport option or as the Ulgan mobile gun, where you sort of replace the back end with this big mobile turret with a gunner on top of there, which seems to be a Janissary as well, so that's kind of cool. I like this version the best. From the description, it seems that this type, the Kavgasi ATVs, is sort of more of a long-range artillery piece, where they rain down rockets from, you know, racing around in the dunes and then barraging your opponent with that. Although they do come with this very cool little belt-fed machine gun on the side as well, which is perhaps more what this unit will have, the Parlama ATVs. I'm not entirely sure what this weapon is. Looks like a D-cannon from Dystopian Wars, I should say, so we'll have to wait and see what this thing does in the game. And when it comes to the heavier hover tank, you have two variants. The first one being the high-lit hover tank, which shoots sort of a portal generator, and maybe that's what this is and what the previous one was as well. The description describes them as sort of a shooting micro portals that rend flesh, metal, and reality at a position. So that does sound like it's quite a potent weapon. Let's just call it that. And then the other build option is the Pillar of Light hover tank, again with an officer and the regular version. And this one seems to come with more of a traditional gun, although it's hard to say that it's traditional if it's got this energy sort of cell at the side. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I imagine this is your anti-tank option. Now, whichever version you prefer, I do like the fact that they've got these sort of hovercraft elements at the bottom, and they almost have broadsides as well. This faction sort of reminds me a lot of, the Dystopian Wars faction, because it looks so much more like ships than it does traditional tanks, which I think is a really cool design space. And for their elite infantry, we have two Warcradle units. Now, people who play Wild West Exodus will know these as the shock troopers of the Order, and they are big guys, and they also come on this new rectangular base rather than the square one, so that's going to look cool when they're spaced out a bit more. Now, there are two variants. This one is the Nyx unit, which comes with the sort of sword and pistol, which I'm imagining these are the more melee-oriented ones, and the Warcradle Luminants are definitely the shooty version with their big out of space sort of big weapons. Really cool unit as well. Also, as a side note, I like what the painting team has done with these different units. It seems like they went for this sort of reddish-brown colour as the main element that comes back in all of the different paint jobs, but they've got some very distinct color patterns between all of them, and that really does help in a 10mm game to sort of make your units more easily identifiable on the board. And then finally we have my favorite unit personally, especially if you have a background in Dystopian Wars, and that's the Khepri rotor automata. The Khepri are the little tokens that are traditionally launched by the Egyptians in the naval game, and yeah, we see them coming back here with sort of the rocket barrage as well that we saw on the ATV 2, so that's going to be the Khepri. The other variant seems to have an etheric lance in the front, the Senehem rotor automata, and then a final version that I couldn't really tell you what weapon it was equipped with. The Apopis rotor automata has this sort of weird command structure here at the top. It's cool to see that there are three variants because, well, if it's my favorite unit, that's the one I would be buying the set multiple times for, so yeah, cool to see that there are more variants. And then we also get portal markers depending on the size of the box that you're buying. Now, there were 4 of them in the faction starter. These seem to be slightly different from the ones that we know from back in the day from Wild West Exodus, but also the Sultanate in Dystopian Wars. So they might have reimagined this one. It's a really cool model regardless. But if I'm painting them up, I would be doing their bases as well. I painted mine using a Tamiya Clear Red as well, to sort of give them a bit more punch visually on the board, but you don't have to, you can just leave it as it is, which is always a bit nice if you just want to get your force on the board quickly. And yeah, we have the final overview of what you're getting in this box. These usually are big armies that range somewhere between 1500 and 2000 points, closer to 2000 in fact. So yeah, you basically can jump in with both feet if you just get this one. Now, the ultimate way to start any faction though is with the faction starter and then getting the Sultanate Introductory set as well, because then you actually get half of the plastic set from the previous one in one of these, which means you can bring them up to full strength should you so desire, and you've got a bit more list building options as well if you get this extra box too. Now, if you want to take a slower start to the game, this is of course the box that is aimed at you. Now, if you're getting the introductory set, you're not getting the full rulebook, and you will also not be getting a Victory and Valor card, but you will be getting a lot of models to start playing around with, including 2 portals, it seems. It's also a great way to just expand any existing forces, so buying one of these as an introduction is definitely not a bad way to go. Especially because Warcradle Studios always has a free-to-download PDF of the full rule set online if you ever want to read that one, but also because they are also releasing the specific Sultanate Command and Conquest deck. Now this is the same one that you get in the faction, but has the cool background, and it is slightly different because the text for both the Command and the Conquest part of the card are the same sort of orientation. Some people prefer that one, others prefer it to be the opposite. You can sort of pick and choose, but if you're starting with the introduction set, know that you can get this deck as well if this is more to your liking. And to round things off, you're also getting the fighter in the initial wave, which is the Sabia fighter. Gorgeous little model. It's the same one that we see on the SRS tokens in Dystopian Wars. It has got a very cool profile, and yeah, I'm glad to see it imagined in this scale too. And Warcradle Studios is also doing their big review of all of the Orbats, so there is the update of all of them together, and aircraft are getting a significant buff in this new revision, so really nice to see that you're probably going to get a lot more mileage out of them, like most other factions in fact. They can now be used in turn 1 to 5, so it's not like they're limited anymore in that way, and they've also become significantly cheaper, so only a fool would now leave without anti-aircraft options, I think, to leave the skies unchallenged. Over on the open seas, we've got the Crown getting their reinforcements with their new frontline squadrons. Last month had their one-player starter set, where they got these new updated sprues, and they are now available separately. I'm actually currently working on my Alliance faction starter set review. I've glued together some of the models, and I'm also working on the Gubbins set review that is coming up as well for Dystopian Wars, and yeah, I've got a bit of an idea of how this box is going to look. The new design for ships is that you're getting, well, of course, your actual sprues to make the different ship variants, but there are also these new sprues with guns and SRS tokens on it that can be divided into quarters, I imagine, by the people working at the assembly line, and yeah, I imagine that there's going to be 2 of them clipped off, 2 of those quarters, to form the gun batteries in this set. Because you're getting your 2 SRS tokens in here as well, and judging by the amount of options you can build with this new frontline sprue, I'm guessing they saved quite a bit of space on their compared to their original frontline sprues by just doing away with all of that and putting it into a quarter of a sprue now. Because the different different build options rather is the Hotspur class carrier, which is traditionally found on the support sprue, of course, but it only comes with a single gun battery, as you can see here, which leads me to think that there are not going to be any rocket batteries on this new frontline sprue. There is also another variant that used to be on the support that can now be made with this new frontline one, the Igraine class cruiser, which has this sort of V2 little rocket ship, suicide drone if you will, that it can launch, and it seems to come with what appears to be the Yukon, well, that shield generator that they have here in the back. So all of those have to be new additions to this frontline sprue. You can still make the Sabre class command cruiser with the 2 radar dishes at the top, but you can also make the smaller version, the much smaller version, the Bedivere class monitor. So that same flexibility is still there, there's just more of it on this sprue. I mean, you can still make the full option, the heavy cruiser, the Lancelot class, and the Albion medium cruiser is still an option, but when it comes to the frigate and the destroyer, those used to be on 2 separate sprues as well, and that's no longer the case. It can all be built using a single frontline sprue, which is very cool to see. I am getting some of these as well for preview, so if you're very curious and want to see what those look like, those new sprues, definitely subscribe to the channel for when that featured video drops. And of course, if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, that always helps with the YouTube algorithm. That was it for me for today though. I do hope to see you in the next one, where I will be reviewing the Alliance faction starter set. Until then, bye!